Welcome to AP and DP, SEC ACC conference coverage. My guest host is Doug Parrish, DP, former University of California defensive back extraordinaire. I'm AP Stedham from LA, multimedia personality from Lower Alabama. Hey, DP, what's happening this week?
Oh my goodness, AP. Think about it, man. We've been together all football season, and now it comes down to this. We've had our last regular season matchups last week, and now it's time to get into the postseason with the bowl games and the college football playoffs. I'm looking forward to hearing all the exciting news that you have to share with us from the SEC, and I'm going to bring it up from the rear with the ACC. So check us out today.
Here we are. We go from rivalry week to the postseason, as DP stated. So, DP, let's get into a big contest in Atlanta, the SEC championship football game between the two best teams. Texas will be hosting Georgia, even though it's in Atlanta. Georgia is the visiting team. Texas chose to wear white, I heard, though, DP.
Interesting.
For the game. Yeah, they didn't wear that burnout. I think I heard they chose to wear the white. So maybe we'll see the Georgia in the red.
Well, maybe that'll bring him some luck, AP. Remember
Might
Vince
be.
Young ran that ball in against USC, and he had on all of that white. Maybe that's going to bring some magic to them.
Could be. They're trying to have that deja vu all over again, as Yogi Berra would say. So, but anyway, these two teams, pretty even, 2.5 point favorite, I think. Texas, I call it really an even game at this point. They played before. Texas hosted them in Austin. Georgia jumped all over them. Like the final was 30-15. They never could come back all the way. But let's just go over some numbers right now. Georgia, offensively, we always bring this up about that team. 101st in rushing. Passing is 10th. That's their main strong point on the offensive side with Carson Beck, their quarterback. Their total offense is 37th in the country, scoring 25th. Believe it or not, their scoring defense is 25th as well. So the offense and defense both have the same national number at 25. Their defense against the run is 44, passing 37, total defense 35. Their turnovers are 0-0, so they're 64th in this country. 64th in the country. Excuse me. Texas, their rush is number 52 in the country, passing 17. Their total offense is 14. Their scoring is 21st in the country. Their defense, the rushing is 12th, which is one of the best in the country. Number 1 against the pass, which, let's see if they could stop Georgia. They couldn't stop them in Austin. Let's see if they could stop them in Atlanta. Total defense, 3 in the country. Scoring defense, number 2 in the country. Their turnover margin is 0.58, which is number 3 in the country. Those are all good numbers on the defensive side for Texas. So I think it's going to be a close game. Will Carson Beck will give the ball up, DP? He has that tendency, throw some interceptions. I mean, he had, I think he had 3 in the first matchup. And then Texas had 4 turnovers overall in that game. Quinn Ewers threw some interceptions and fumbles and things. So they were able to attack the quarterback. The Georgia defensive line pierced that very good offensive line of Texas for 7 sacks, which is highly unusual. So I'm thinking that Texas will protect better this game. For them to have a chance, that must happen. So Texas, they seem like they're playing much better complementary football, running the football, throwing the football. Quinn Ewers, he throws an excellent pass. He's a finesse quarterback. He's not going to overwhelm you physically. He needs a lot of time in the pocket, but he can move around and make those throws from different angles. Carson Beck, we know he has to play well for Georgia to put points on the board because their running has suffered through the year based on injuries, offensive line running back. So it'd be a tight ball game. Could be a field goal that wins it for either team. But no matter, both teams will be in the playoffs. Texas right now sitting at number 2, Georgia at number 5. So they're really playing for a chance to have a bye. That'd be one of the 4 teams that receives an early bye in this 12-team college football playoff. How about that ACC? I know that's an interesting matchup that has so many implications.
So many implications, a lot of moving parts, a lot of chess moves are being played right now, particularly with the head coaches. You're looking at Dabo Swinney, who was fighting and clawing his way back into the ACC championship game. He's a winner. He comes from good stock here from Alabama, being an assistant coach with Nick Saban here. And,
Gene Stallings. Yeah, Gene
Gene
Stallings.
Stallings, excuse me.
There
Excuse
you go.
me. Gene Stallings, one of the best that ever do it. And so I can't give Nick Saban too much credit. Everybody calls him the GOAT, so I automatically put him in that equation. But anywho, as we know, Dabo Sweeney is just one of those coaches that will have his team ready and geared up to play, particularly in an ACC conference matchup. Now, on the flip side, you got Coach Lashley, who I always praise as being one of those coaches that you want to play for. You'll run through a brick wall for him, right? Because he has that positive energy. And that's what a lot of players want. They want to have a coach that can bring out the emotion from them and also allow them to play freely. As you saw them put a spanking on my Cal Berkeley Bears the regular game of the season. And so you could just see the energy, the positive types of plays that they generate out there on the field. When things break down, they're able to get back up and bounce back from those challenging plays. And so Coach Lashley is one of those coaches that is going to bring out the best in his players, AP. They're coming into this game, AP. They're ranked 8th in the college football playoffs against who else? The Clemson Tigers, number 17 in the college football playoffs. And we were talking a little bit about the college football playoffs and how that's all going to work out. And we'll dive a little bit into that. But hey, guess who's going to the game, AP? Yours truly. I will be there at Bank of America Stadium. Yes, man, downtown Charlotte, North Carolina. So, folks, I'll be there to bring you all the live coverage and all the unscripted drama of these two teams right into your living room. Now, AP, there's a lot of things that are going on right now in college football playoffs. I want to dive into that a little bit, if you don't mind. We were talking a little bit on, let's just start from the top. Let's start from, this. They got the conference commissioners that are coming in and are essentially selecting the board or the committee that selects the college football teams that are playing in the 12 spots. Now, it's up to the individual teams to come in and do the best that they can, and then they will be put into pods, if you will. You described this earlier before we got into our segment here, and we were talking about these different pods. And AP, I want to just let the viewers know that I know that it may be complicated because you're wondering, like, why is this team in versus that team not being in? This team has 1 loss, but this other team has 2 losses and they're in. I mean, it really comes down to, the revenue, first of all, that is being impacted, that is being created by these TV deals. That is significant. So there's a lot of moving parts, and it's unfortunate that the level of scrutiny is there because there's just, there's a fine line, right, between losing and winning. And, you take some teams that are lost by a narrow margin of 3 to 5 points in their defeats. And should they be in versus a team that beat a better team, or lost to a better team they lost by 14. So it's really, really, it's just even the scenarios are just interesting just to even trying to what if this thing is what we're trying to do. We're trying to what if it to death. And what if this scenario happens? What if that scenario happens? What we do know, AP, is that there's 5 top conferences that will be evaluated. The ACC, the SEC, which we cover. That's our bread and butter, the ACC and the SEC. The Big 12, we got the Mountain West, we got the Big 10. So, starting from the top again, AP, you got the conference commissioners, you got the committee that's comprised of ADs, former coaches, former players that are going to be underneath the umbrella of the executive director, Rich Clark, who we both met. So I'm just going to turn it over to you, AP, because, these different scenarios are going to be important. And particularly, let's talk about the SEC on your end.
Right. The SEC, they're going to have 3 teams. It'll be definitely Texas and Georgia and Tennessee. Tennessee's 10-2, number 7. in these college football rankings that were announced on Tuesday. And the team in question right now is Alabama. They're awaiting the outcomes of the SMU Clemson game, and then you have Arizona State and Iowa State in the Big 12. You have Oregon of the Big 10 to play, Penn State of the Big 10. So you have those conference matchups. You have also Boise State is sitting at number 10, 11-1 versus UNLV, which is number 20. So what happens is if SMU holds serve and wins, they're going to remain at number 8 probably. And I think Alabama will be the team that will be selected. They're the 11th team. So the Arizona State Iowa State winner will slide into number 12, which knocks out Miami of the ACC at 10-2. Because these teams, Miami, Alabama, Ole Miss, South Carolina, they're listed as number 11, 12, 13, 14, respectively. They do not have any more data points to make a move because their game and their season is over. But the teams that can make a move is SMU because they're playing a game. Boise State's playing a game. Clemson is number 17. They can make that move up by winning the championship. They'll get the automatic bid. And
Wow.
so there's some teams that are still a fluid situation. But because the committee gave these rankings on Tuesday, we know that, like I said, the SEC will have those 3 teams. And Alabama, I think they're going to make this playoff because the big question will be if Clemson beats SMU, then SMU will not remain at number 8. They will slide. Will they
Right.
slide down below Alabama or remain above Alabama? So that's going to be a discussion of the comparative schedule and strength of each team between Alabama of the SEC, SMU of the ACC. And you also have I don't think 2 Mountain West teams are going to survive. I think it's going to be one or the other. It's going to be
Yeah.
the winner of that game. It's not going to be Boise State and UNLV. For instance, I'm saying UNLV because if UNLV wins, they get the automatic bid. But Boise's sitting at number 10. I think Boise's going to drop. They're going to drop below Alabama at number 11. So that would knock them out of the playoff. And then you have, like I said, Arizona State, Iowa State winner will pop into that number 12 spot. Uh, I believe. I believe that's going to
Yep.
happen.
Yep.
Then you have the ACC. So when you look at the games, DP, you have the 4 buys of the top conference champions, which I think will be. Let's start with the Big Ten, the SEC, um,
ACC.
also, yeah, also, I think the Mountain West might be in that category. The
Yeah.
SEC, the Mountain West, the Big Ten. I think they're all going to get the buys, the 4 buys of
4 buys.
those
Yep.
teams. So, and then you have the 5th conference team, which I said is the Big 12. They will
Yep.
slide into that number 12 spot.
Right.
Because Arizona State and Iowa State, those are the top teams. They're at 15 and 16 respectively. So they're going to move up to the bottom of that 12
Right.
team list.
Yep.
Yeah.
So where
So
you are right now, yeah. I'm sorry, AP, but
yeah.
where you are right now, you're talking about the top 4 teams in the country based on the college football playoffs, and you're looking at
Right.
the conference, fifth conference champion
Yeah.
that will be ranked somewhere based upon strength of schedule, all of those things that
Yeah.
go into selecting that 5th.
Right. Right. So you're going to have those top 4 conference champions, and they're going to rank the top 5. But like I
Yeah,
said, the 5th conference champion will not be number 5. They
right.
would
And a lot
probably
of people
be.
don't get that. See, that's
Yeah.
the key
Yeah.
right there.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
You
So most
rank
people
them.
logically we would think that they're going to be 5th, but
No.
that's not how it
No.
works.
Yeah. It's ranking and then seeding. 2 different things. You're
Yeah.
ranking the 5 top conferences, and then you're seeding them. So I say the Big 12 will be seeded, I think, at number 12, even though they're the 5th best conference. So you'll have the top 5 conferences will be SEC, ACC, Big Ten, and Mountain West.
Yeah.
So they'll
So
they'll receive the buys.
the schools that 5 through 8 will host at that
The
point. They will be the
true. The
host,
the first
which is
round, correct, on
which
campus.
will be phenomenal for who?
Oh, yeah.
For the
Well,
colleges, their
yeah,
universities, for the
right, right.
students, for the
Yeah.
faculty, for all the people, the alumni. I mean, come on, man. Woo, that's got to
First time
be
ever.
first time ever. So we're bringing you all of this good knowledge. We're breaking it down for you right here on the AP and DP show.
Yeah.
So, go
Doug,
ahead.
and another interesting point, Doug, not only is it the first time, but you're going to see some teams, hopefully, that have never played against each other,
Right. Yeah.
which I love that. I love the fact that you're playing a team that you never competed from in your 100 plus years of football, let's say.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you have the first time playoff, it makes it exciting, and then you're going to get a brand new opponent on
Yes.
campus. And
Yeah.
it could be a warm team going to a cold team,
That's right. Or
which
vice
will be
versa.
yeah, it'd be very interesting. Yeah, and we know that it's not too warm. Well, the temperatures could be much warmer south, let's say, but
Sure.
moving up north, it could be very cold. Could have some snow. Could have all types of weather that will impact the game. And I look forward to those moments as well.
Well, what's interesting too, from a sponsorship standpoint, and I talk about the revenue, I'm all about the dollars, right? And I want to add it all up, find out who's getting what and who's, that's a big part of this game as well. And you got the Goodyear Cotton Bowl, you got the VRBO Fiesta Bowl, you got the Capital One Orange Bowl, Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, and then you got the granddaddy of them all, AP. We were out there last year, the Rose
Right.
Bowl,
Rose Bowl, right.
in Pasadena, California.
Yeah. So
So,
once they move past those first round games where they're hosting, then you move into the six bowl games. That moving forward, you have, as you said, the semifinal game will be at the Cotton Bowl and the Orange Bowl, and
quarterfinals and
then right, and
semifinals.
then the Peach Bowl, which is one of the four bowls that will host the quarterfinals. They're going to be double hosting. They'll host the Peach Bowl game, which is a quarterfinal matchup, and then they'll host the championship because they outbid everyone else around the country to host that game in the city of Atlanta. So uh, the four bowl games that will be the quarterfinals is the Rose Bowl, the Sugar Bowl, the Fiesta Bowl, and the Peach Bowl. And then when you move into the semifinal round, as we said, be the Cotton Bowl and the Orange Bowl. And then the final game is in Atlanta.
In
And
Atlanta.
that's just the city. It's not a bowl game per se. It's the college football championship hosted by the city of Atlanta. Yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah.
people could follow that.
Absolutely.
First round on campus. The teams at the top have a bye. They don't come into play until the second week after the first round is played.
Absolutely. Now, we talked a little bit, AP, about the what if scenarios earlier, right?
Right. Yeah.
What happens if SMU beats Clemson?
Right. If SMU beats Clemson, then Alabama probably slides into for that spot to be the fourth team from the SEC. Clemson will not make it. They'll go to a nice bowl, but they won't make the college football playoff.
Does Texas beating Georgia shake up the rankings significantly?
Well, Georgia will move into that top four, and where they place them, I'm not sure. It'll be one through four. I'm not sure where they're going to be placed exactly, but Texas will host a game, and Georgia will play uh, in one of the four quarterfinal games. They'll have the bye the first week. Yeah, so but I'm not sure the Georgia will rank them right now. They're 5. Texas is 2. I'm not sure what's going to happen there. Yeah,
Sure. And Oregon's path, they're the only undefeated team, as we know. What
correct.
happens if they lose to Penn State?
Right. So they will also host they will also be hosting a game in that first round, and Penn State will have the bye. And Penn State will play in one of those four quarterfinal games. Yes. So it's really interesting because you hear coaches saying, "I don't want to play the first round." Well, if you play in the first round, you might get in a better bracket possibly for your team.
Sure.
Whereas if you're having a bye, you might have, let's say, two better opponents.
Yeah.
Whether they're ranked that way or not, but if you perceive them as better, that could be a more difficult situation for you, even though you're having the bye the first week.
And
Yeah,
that bye also gives players time to Well,
heal.
it could be a positive and a negative because you could heal up, but at the
Yeah,
same time, you're not in action, right? So
yeah, your
that time,
mojo. Yeah, your
yeah,
mojo. You have your
yeah,
mojo. Are you a
yeah.
team that can accept a week off and come back with the same type of mojo? I
Mojo,
don't
right.
know. Only those coaches know.
Only, yeah, exactly. That's where you have
I
to
don't
have
know.
heart, man. I tell you right now, the long term implications, as we talked about as well
Yeah,
earlier, but these long term implications by 2026, a 2-loss team can forget it. My thing for if I were to be a general
mm,
manager like a Andrew Luck coming into Stanford next
right,
season, as a GM, I'm telling, hey, we can't lose. Winning heals everything and it cures everything. So you don't have to worry about these scenarios. If you just win, baby, like the great, Al Davis would say, just win, baby.
right,
And everything else will shake themselves out. Uh,
right.
you know,
Doug, in this scenario, you might have, for instance, Alabama with 3 losses out of the SEC, and you might have a Georgia team with 3 losses. So I'm looking this over. There could be 2 teams in the final 12 with 3 losses.
gosh, that's
I think
incredible.
that's gonna. I think that could happen. At least
And
one. I think Alabama's at least one going to have the 3 losses. Yeah.
what's interesting is that some of these teams aren't. They're being picked to be into the top 12, but they're not even winning their conference championships. They're not even going to the conference
Well,
championship. And
right,
look at
right,
the company. Well, they are companies. They're small businesses out there
right.
right now.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is big business, though.
Right. You only have the 10 conferences in the FBS level plus Notre Dame. There's
Notre
only
Dame
three.
is, yeah,
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 they're independent. There's only 3 independent teams left in the country out of the 130, I think it's 134 teams. So you have the 10 conferences and you have Notre Dame as an independent. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, but our whole focus today, AP, is just to try to kind of simplify this thing for our fans and all of our
Yeah.
viewers that are out there.
Yeah. So
You
yeah,
know?
so keep a close eye on that SMU Clemson game. If
Yep.
SMU wins, Alabama should be in from the SEC. If SMU loses, then it's a discussion between probably SMU and Alabama. SMU will have 2 losses. Their only loss was to BYU, which is a ranked team, by the way, 18th at 10 and
Yeah.
2. BYU used the 18th ranked team, 10 and 2. And remember, the only teams that can movement this week is Boise State can make a move, right? Because they have to play in a championship game. SMU can remain the same if they win or move down, but all these other teams really they're in. They're going to probably stay the same. Georgia and Texas, that'll filter out because there's going to be a winner in that game. They're going to make a move, whether they get a bye and drop in there. Oregon State and Penn State as well. Notre Dame finished their regular season. Tennessee finished their regular season. Indiana finished their regular season at number 9, 11-1. Tennessee's number 7, 10-2. Like I said, Miami sitting at number 12. That is a bad spot to be because there's no other data points that you could help yourself. And there's
Correct.
teams above you that they've already ranked and evaluated. And it looks like they're going to be playing in a nice bowl game, but not in the college football playoff.
Sure. Now, I'll just give some kudos to some of these other teams that are even mentioned after the
Yeah,
12, which is Ole Miss, right? South Carolina. You
right,
got Arizona State. You got Iowa State. You
right.
got
So,
BYU,
yeah,
Missouri. Yeah. I mean, it goes, these are really quality teams. UNLV, Illinois, Syracuse, even Colorado's in the top 25. You got Army and
right.
Memphis, you
And
know.
Memphis, right.
So,
Of the
so I
Memphis,
mean,
right.
it's incredible. This is a
Yeah.
great season. AP, this season flew by so fast, I must tell you. But hey, that's what happens. Time flies when you're having fun, baby. AP, it's
Absolutely.
a pleasure,
Absolutely.
man. And you know
This has
what?
been great.
You are so dynamic and experienced in breaking down and simplifying the playoff picture for the average fan. Man, I'm so happy to have you as my partner, buddy. Keep going, man.
Hey, thank you. Thank you, DP. It's my pleasure.
You're
We really
welcome,
had
man.
a fun season, and I
Yeah.
can't wait to we talk next week, and it's all sorted out. 1 through 12 has been established, and
Yep.
the pairings are set. And I hope we have some matchups where there are teams that have not played against each other in their entire history. and that'll make it so much more fun. And plus, to be on site for those first 4 games, the inaugural season of this playoff teams with 12 teams involved. Yeah.
Outstanding. Thank you.
Hey, another edition of AP and DP, SEC, ACC conference coverage. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next week. Thank you, DP.
Thank you, AP.